In this lab session on how to import web data, we will see various methods and techniques to handle the web data sources from HTML document to XML and .json. First, we have to create a Rconnect to a web source file. In order to do that, we will use file and URL function to open and close connections to a web file. So let's load the web file using file as well as URL. Now using our regular functions like read.csv, we can read the file from the connection saved in the R object web data underscore file and URL. Let me show you the data that we have just imported from the web. View our web data and view our web data 1. To know more about the file and the URL function, use the function file or URL. Alternatively, we can save the file connection, that is the URL or the local file path, directly in an R object and use our regular functions like read.csv, read.table, readlines or other functions to import the data from web. Here we have saved in an R object called web data. Now using the web data R object in a regular function read.csv to import the web data. Or even we can directly use the file link in the R-based read functions. Next is how to handle XML files. R have a special package to take care of data that are in XML formats. As we have already gone through our previous chapter, it has 3 common steps to read the XML data. First, load the XML document into a R object. Use XML3 parser function to parse the XML file. Then use XML root function to identify the root element, that is the top level XML node of the XML file. Finally, extract the values of the XML with XMLs apply. Done. Let's view the data. View bookstore underscore data. Here we have our data successfully loaded. Another common alternative file to XML is .json that stores data structure and objects in format originally based on a subset of JavaScript. Again, to handle the JSON file formats, R have a special package called JSONLite that converts R objects to and from JSON. To read the JSON file format, load the JSON file using from_JSON function. And the class of the imported data from this function will be a data frame. Here we have our JSON data successfully loaded in the R object. Next is web scraping. We often do come across the tables on a website in HTML format, and the method of extracting that data is often known as web scraping, screen scraping, web harvesting, and web data extraction. So to read a HTML table, we will use read HTML table function from XML package. First, let me show you the HTML table that we will import. Save the URL in an R object. Now using read HTML table, we will read the second table by defining which is equal to 2. Again, the output of the read HTML table function will be a class data frame. Here we have our HTML table successfully imported. str HTML data. By default, it will take all the table variables type as factor, or else character if string as factors is equal to false. To overcome this issue, we can individually declare the table variable types as part of our requirement. Declare the variable type and save it as classes. This formatted number indicates R, the numbers have commas. Then using call classes, we'll declare the variables type while importing the HTML table. Now check using str. We can see we have labeled our variable types successfully. So far, we have learned various methods to import data. Next, we will learn how to manipulate data using our base functions.